Hey, this is Brad, and welcome to the second or third installment, I can't remember which it is, of the Leader's Pathway here at Manifest Church. We believe, like Craig Groeschel says, that when the leader gets better, everyone gets better. So we're taking time every month to invest in our own leadership. Now, to review one of the things we talked about before the summer hit, I think it's important that we get back to that. We said that a leader does a lot of important things, but the most important thing a leader does is develop people. And so we talked about how to develop the people we lead using three simple kind of steps or ingredients. And that was number one, to give them a path to explore their potential, to empower them to take ownership and celebrate their progress. So to do that with you as Manifest leaders, I want to introduce you this month to something called the 5 levels of leadership. Now, this comes from a book I read years ago by John Maxwell called The 5 Levels of Leadership. And basically what he says is there are 5 levels of leadership, and that each level is necessary, a necessary part of our development, and it also corresponds, each level corresponds to an increase in our own effectiveness as leaders. He would also say that the key to becoming a better leader is largely about learning to think differently about our leadership at each level. In other words, each level requires a different way of approaching our leadership. So then stepping up our game or improving as a leader, which is what this is all about, this leader's pathway, for each level, that requires a fundamentally different leadership focus for you and I to grow. Sometimes we kind of stagnate where we are as leaders, and we don't understand how to grow, how to develop. Remember what we said, if we're investing in people, the first thing we want to give them is a pathway to develop. And so this is what I'm trying to understand or help you understand here in this particular module. So I'm just going to run through the 5 levels of leadership really quickly so you can understand maybe where you're at as a leader. And I want you to keep that in mind as we go through it. Where am I as a leader? And then what cautions are there, or what can I do to take my leadership to the next level? So here's level 1. Level 1, as you can see, is the level of position. In other words, you're the leader because you're in that position, and you're doing a job because you've been given a job to do. It's basically you stepping into a certain kind of box, right? And so the focus of the positional leader is getting people to do their jobs. In other words, it's task-oriented, and this is not bad. A leader does need to help people do their jobs, right? And that there are tasks to accomplish. And so this is, again, all these levels are necessary, and I want you to think about kind of where you're at in each one of them. So the key for level 1, becoming a good level 1 leader, is clarity. In other words, helping people understand what it is you're wanting them to do. So here we're talking about helping people understand the mission clearly, clear job descriptions, understanding which skills they need to succeed. They need access to needed resources easily and clearly, and then they need constructive feedback. All of these are hugely important. If people don't know what they're supposed to do and whether or not they're doing it or how well they're doing it, we're not setting them up to succeed. That we're removing the path for their development. Now, of course, this isn't where we want to stay. As important as it is to get things done, there are cautions for level 1. And number 1 is this, that people are following you because they have to. You're the leader. You're in that position. And we don't want to just stay there. Follow me because I'm in charge, right? That's not how Jesus asks us to lead. And then the other thing is that at the very beginning, we're delegating tasks. We're not delegating authority, and so we're not actually creating ownership if we're just getting people to do their jobs. Which brings us to level 2. Level 2 is all about relationship. And the focus of level 2 then is about cultivating relationships to develop a team spirit. In other words, you're not just trying to get people to do their jobs, you're facilitating relationships with your team members and among your team members. So the key for level 2 is connection. In other words, we want people to get to know each other personally if we're working together as a team. We want to develop trust and respect between us and our team, but also between them and each other. We want to discover and unleash their particular giftedness, because this is about getting to know people. How are you wired? Where do you best fit? And then we also want to move from me to we. In other words, it's not just about getting my job done, or it's not just about them fulfilling their role. There's a we to tend to. We want them to see their role as being part of a team, and that building the morale of the team is really, really important. Now you can see how this is an incredibly necessary step to build on the positional leadership. Yes, we need clarity. Yes, we need to get the job done, but we should be getting to know each other, especially in the body of Christ. The cautions for level 2, though, are very real. And there's one primary one I want to share with you. And that is that when you get to know people, you like each other and you don't want to jeopardize that. So you can neglect productivity, the tasks that we need to get done, and you can maybe fudge on giving honest feedback because you just like the person so much, and all for the sake of preserving relationships. In other words, we can slip into people pleasing. That's why it's important for leaders to progress to level 3 leadership, which is all about productivity. In other words, the focus of level 3 is leveraging the clarity of level 1 and the teamwork of level 2 for increased effectiveness as a team. And the key then for level 3 becomes improvement. If we want to become more productive, we have to improve. In other words, this is where we're going to engage in regular evaluation. How are we doing? What are we doing well? What could we be doing better? It's all about courageous vision alignment and goal setting. Where are we not embodying the values and vision and mission of Manifest? How can we change that? Right? This is all about becoming more productive and more aligned with what God's calling us to do. This is where we raise the bar of expectations. We realize that yes, technically we're checking off all the boxes and we really like each other, but now it's time to try and up the bar. In other words, now it's time to try and improve instead of just coasting where we are. In other words, it's about creating momentum. There's an excitement. I want to come back next week, or I want to see what happens in this child's life because of the lessons that we're teaching. There's all kinds of cool stuff that can happen at level 3. This is where the team really starts to hum because you've got clarity. You know what you're doing, why you're doing it, whether you're hitting the mark or not, and you're getting to know each other. You're unleashing each other's giftedness. You're starting to work together in synergy as a team. You're improving. You're getting traction. The caution for level 3 is very simple, and that is that people can start to excel in their roles, and so can you, which is fantastic, but we want to guard against being a hero who doesn't develop others. In other words, I'm really good at what I do, let's say, but I don't want anyone else to do it because I want to do it. And because I want to be the star of the show. Well, that obviously is, again, contrary to the vision and mission of Christ. And in other words, we have to be careful that we are always looking at developing others. Why? Because the most important thing a leader does is develop others. And the next thing that can happen in level 3 is we've got the clarity, we've built the relationships, but we get so zoned in on productivity, making better, that we start trading the relationships for results. In other words, we push the team too hard without the morale to kind of sustain it. So let me just summarize the first 3 levels of leadership. A good leader uses their position to create clarity for their people. That's level 1. Level 2, relationship. They invest in relationships to build a healthy team. And then number 3, they leverage the team to achieve greater productivity. Now, what I want to point out in all of this is that not everyone actually makes a good leader. In other words, if a person can't or won't move past level 1, I'm in charge because I'm in charge, they shouldn't be leading. Right? Or if you can get stuck in level 2. You just love hanging out with people that you don't really know how to translate that into productivity. So in other words, not everyone makes a good leader, and we shouldn't force that. We shouldn't force that. So sometimes we always think of becoming a leader as getting promoted. It's not if it's not the place for you to be. If that's not where you excel. Now, there are 2 more levels of leadership I'm not going to cover in depth in this video, but they are coaching. That's the next level. That's level 4. And the focus of level 4 or coaching is guiding emerging leaders through levels 1 to 3 development. In other words, you recruit someone, everyone starts as a level 1 positional leader, but then to guide them, coach them through adding relationship and productivity to their portfolio, right? So that they can become a level 3 leader instead of staying where they are. That's level 4. So we have coaches whose job is to help leaders develop. That's level 4. Now, as you can see, not everyone could be successful as a coach either, because you're not actually on the ground. You're the one looking over the leaders. It requires a fundamentally different leadership approach than levels 1 to 3 leadership does. Level 4 coaching is what the level that I was talking about there, and then level 4, the key then becomes delegating leadership. Now, level 5 is all about multiplication, and this is where things really start to hum. So the focus in level 5 is empowering level 3 leaders as level 4 coaches. In other words, you have somebody who's just killing it as a level 3 leader. They might be great at coaching others. So a level 5 leader takes level 3 leaders and promotes them into a coaching role so that they can help other people unleash their potential. In other words, the key for level 5 is a vision for more. All right. So I know I've just backed the truck up on you, but I want to kind of wrap this up now to help you see the big picture. So we've got these 5 levels of leadership. What this means practically is that a level 1 leader is leading workers, right? They're just getting people to do their jobs, whereas levels 2 and 3 are actually leading teams. They're pulling those workers together into a cohesive team and helping them get something done they couldn't do just by doing their jobs. And then a level 4 leader is leading leaders. In other words, they're helping people become level 1, level 2, level 3. And then a level 5 leader is leading coaches. I put together a little graphic to kind of illustrate this, and if you'd like this, I can give you a copy of it so you can see it visually. But you can see here in this diagram what's happening at the various levels, right? You've got level 1, you're about recruiting and giving feedback and training and all that kind of stuff. Level 2, you're developing your people's fit, your team building, and you're monitoring morale, making connections with people. Level 3 is about vision casting and improving, setting goals that are higher than you've been, evaluating how you're doing. Level 4 is about appointing people into leadership, helping them by coaching them, delegating not just tasks to them, but delegating authority, and then just assessing how are you doing, how can we improve. Level 5 then about dreaming bigger and overseeing the big picture, charting course to take the ministries and programs where we've never been, and then of course coaching the leaders who are coaching the leaders. So that's the big picture. Now, obviously, there are some massive implications for all this, and I just want to unpack that as well. So the implications are, number 1, you can't really skip a level, right? You do start with position, and you work your way up. But you never leave those behind. You never leave the position behind necessarily. We build on the strengths of each level. The second one is that different people are at different places, and so we're at different levels with each person. So you might be a level 3 leader that's trying to establish clarity with a new volunteer. So with them, you're starting at level 1 until they get to know you, and then you can build a relationship and move to level 2, etc. The third thing is that we're usually working at more than one level at a time. This builds on the second principle. In other words, depending on which person you're dealing with, you're probably working at a different level. But the bottom line is that our leadership level either unleashes or limits those we lead. In other words, if you're a positional leader that won't grow past it, then you're probably not going to develop leaders or people's potential, their full potential. If you're not leveraging the position for clarity and productivity, you're probably not going to, again, get people excited to be about that team. So your own growth as a leader is vitally important in this process. So to close this video off, obviously there's a lot of heady stuff, some theoretical stuff. I just want to ask 2 sets of questions for you to wrestle with with your teams for you to wrestle with personally. And these are going to help kind of put boots on the ground for this concept. All right, so here's the first one. Do those you lead know exactly what they're supposed to be doing? That's an important question. Do those you lead know exactly what they're supposed to be doing? In other words, do they have a clear job description? Are their expectations clear? Do they know when they're succeeding? Do they know when they're failing? On what basis do they know that? And do they receive regular feedback on what they're doing and right now, right? And what they're doing right and how they could improve? That's hugely important. And then the second set of questions, how well do you know the people that you lead? And how do you express your care for them? Do you know what they're into? Do you know what their likes are? Do you know what their gifts are? If you don't know what their gifts are, how can you put them in their sweet spot? Do you think they feel like they're part of a team or like they're a worker doing their job once in every 3 Sundays? Those are the questions I want to leave with you for today because they are massive, massive. In other words, these sets of questions roughly correspond to levels 1, position, and level 2, relationship. The first set is a position question. Are you giving your people clarity? And the second set of questions is about relationship. Are you building relationships and building a team? Well, that's all I'm going to share with you today. Thank you for tuning in for the most recent installment of our Leaders Pathway. I really encourage you to take these issues up and answer these questions for yourself. Talk to people on your teams about them, and let's grow together at Leaders. Why? Because when the leader gets better, we all get better. Have an amazing day, and we'll talk soon.